Jim need to get you a new one?
Oh, no.
Okay.
Well, if I'm getting brand new.
Next year's budget.
Yeah.
You are live.
Okay.
Tonight.
I'd like to call this meeting of the commission to order. The first order of business will be the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. And I see no public comment tonight, correct? Okay. Move on to the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
None here. No, sir.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Special presentations. Presentation of Officer Cynthia Tatum, Kansas Law Enforcement Training Center, Full-Time Law Enforcement Officer Certification. Chief Brown.
Mayor, Commissioner, thank you. Tim Brown, Junction City Police Chief. Cynthia, if you'd step up here on the podium, please. Mayor, if you could come around here, I'd very much appreciate that. Mayor? Mayor, Commissioners, I'd like to introduce tonight Cynthia Tatum. She's one of our new police officers with the Junction City Police Department. Cynthia was hired by the Junction City Police Department in 2015. She has now successfully graduated from the Kansas Law Enforcement Training Center and has been certified as a full-time law enforcement officer. She has began already her field training officer program, and very proud to have her a member of our department. I think she saw some of her first action Sunday morning. She was involved in that arrest that occurred out there on South Washington. Many of you saw in the news and stuff over the past weekend, so good for her, and we're glad to have her. So, Mayor, if you do the honors of presenting that to Cynthia, I'd very much appreciate that.
Thank you very much for being part of our community, part of the police force, and one of the greatest police forces there is. Appreciate it. We're happy that you're here. Thank you very much. Speech.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Don't go anywhere.
Run away.
Joshua Brown.
Don't run away.
Mayor, with your permission, sir, we'd like to make a special presentation tonight to Polygraph Examiner Sergeant Josh Brown. Josh, if you come forward, please, on the podium. Mayor, this is the certificate. Thank you. Mayor, Sergeant Joshua Brown has successfully graduated from the Northeast Counter Drug Training Center's Polygraph Training Program. Josh is the first one in the history of the Junction City Police Department to hold this title. We have never had a polygraph examiner before in the history of the JCPD. To attain this certification, Sergeant Brown attended a 3-month school to learn the basics for polygraph examination, and over, I believe, the next year must complete at least 30 polygraph examinations, of which he kind of did about 7 last week, I believe, something like that. So, Josh went and left for Pennsylvania on January 2nd and returned to Junction City on or about March 30th or 31st, something like that. So he spent almost 3 months down there, away from his family. His family and him both made many sacrifices for the good of the department. I can't tell you what an honor it is to have a member of our department like Josh is, but having somebody with these skills, the device, the training itself was free. What did cost us, of course, was the meals and the travel, and then the device itself, which is about $5,000 instrument, which is a laptop computer type polygraph device, and a chair, I think, which is about $700, a special chair that they have to utilize. But this is going to be a very beneficial tool utilized by the Junction City Police Department during the most serious investigations to the, in some cases, the littlest investigations. So we're very proud to have it on board. We've always had to call the KBI in to do this in the past, so no longer will we need to borrow the state police for this, but Josh will be able to do this for us, so we're very glad and honored to have Josh having completed this school.
Appreciate it. Thank you for the sacrifices that you've done to be able to bring this to our community. First time, really a great thing for our community. It'll help our law enforcement. Thank you.
I'm proud of you, buddy. Thank you, Mayor.
Arbor Day.
You've got the poster to Megan.
Poster to Megan and the proclamation. Where to go? And then you have this to read. But the poster's first.
We're
Right.
now going to have the
Okay, go ahead. Yeah, the presentation for the
Right.
poster.
presentation of the winning Arbor Day poster to Megan Sullivan.
Megan, come up. That's the proclamation, that's next. Yes.
Okay, Lester, here's the... I'd like you to present here.
Let's stand back here so we can show everybody this.
As everyone knows, Junction City is a Tree City USA community, and we've been celebrating this for the 40th year. And one of our requirements is to hold an Arbor Day celebration, and we conjunction work with the Kansas State Forest Service, and we do an Arbor Day poster contest. And Megan happened to win the North Central District, which Junction City's in, and there's 17 counties in that district, and we're very proud of Megan for winning the district. So congratulations to Megan. Also, her teacher, Christina Miller, we're proud of her for being able to put that in her lesson plan so that the fifth graders can compete with that. So.
Show it to us.
It was a pose.
Get your picture taken first.
Go ahead.
Stand on the side so they can get
Tell
you.
the teacher up there. There we go.
Yeah, the teacher's
Teacher's coming.
Lower the picture, Mick. That'll block it.
I can't see her face.
Yeah.
Well, but put it, yeah. There you go. Now you can.
All right.
See, you're pretty. Oh, it's
Oh, wow.
beautiful. Wow.
You did a good
Oh, I
job.
love it. It's fabulous.
That's nice.
Wonderful.
Auctioneer helper.
Yeah.
Wow.
Great idea.
Make that turn. Make that
Well
turn.
done.
Very good.
Outstanding.
Oh, that is nice.
Good job,
Nice
Megan.
artwork.
Well done.
Good job.
There you go. Thank you, Megan.
Thank you.
Bottom.
This is what you get to
Next will be the proclamation declaring April 29th as the 144th anniversary celebration of Arbor Day in Junction City, Kansas. I will read the proclamation, Ray. City of Junction City, Arbor Day Proclamation. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for planting trees, and whereas this holiday, called Arbor Day, was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska, and whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world, and whereas trees can reduce erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas trees are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. And whereas Junction City has been recognized as Tree City USA for the 40th year by the National Arbor Day Foundation and desires to continue its tree planting ways. Now, therefore, I, Mick McAllister, Mayor of Junction City, Gary County, Kansas, do hereby proclaim April 29, 2016 as the 144th anniversary celebration of Arbor Day. In the city of Junction City, I urge all citizens to support efforts to care for our trees and woodlands and support our city's community forest program. And further, I urge all citizens to plant trees to gladden the hearts and promote the well-being of present and future generations. Given under my hand and seal of the City of Junction City, State of Kansas, this 19th day of April, 2016. Thank you, Ray. Appreciate the work you do in the forestry and all the trees that we have in the 40th year. That's a big thing. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
One more. She's going to present you our 40th anniversary plaque.
Okay.
We have a meeting today.
Ray's going to present the 40th year Tree City USA plaque to the mayor by Public Works.
Mayor McAllister, as we talked about, Junction City is a Tree Cities USA community, and this year is their 40th tree celebration. And recognition at the Newton Kansas State Forest Service Tree Service, they presented Junction City with a 40-year plaque, and it's in recognition of 40 years' commitment to community service, and it's given by the Arbor Day Foundation. And I would like to present that to you to show that Junction City is trying to do the right thing in, as far as nature and working on those type of issues.
You're allowed to sit down now. Sit down.
Oh, thank you. Let me stand some more. Okay. Okay, under new business. Item A, election of the mayor and vice mayor to serve until the first meeting of January 2017. Mr. Dinkle, any explanation need to be given for the
Basically,
public?
according to the ordinance that the city commission passed last month, and with the transition of city elections from spring to the fall, this year we're going to choose a mayor and a vice mayor for roughly a 9-month period, with the terms ending at the first meeting in January of 17, and then from there on out we'll have 1-year terms. And then when the new commission gets elected in 18, we'll already have started the process. And this was the option the commission chose when they adopted that ordinance. And all of the housekeeping details we had to do with the switch from spring to fall. And again, moving elections to the fall, as far as, it's a change, it's not a big change per se. But, I always tell the state legislatures that I need to have them paid about the $1,500 bill that we had and doing all the work to move things over in the publications, but I don't think we're going to get that.
Okay, very good. Well, I would like to say that it has certainly been a pleasure and an honor to represent the city for the past year. There were several projects that are being worked on, have been worked on, and they will continue to go on. It is a pleasure to be able to go and represent the city at different functions, and it has been an enjoyable past year.
I would move to nominate Mick McAllister for mayor.
Second it.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. The next item of business would be to elect a vice mayor for that same period of time.
I would like to nominate Commissioner Fitzgerald.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
None here.
No.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Well, congratulations, I think.
Kitchen seats. Oh.
That's mine, yeah.
They don't have to.
Take care of yourself.
Beanie, they
Good luck.
can't move. I said a moving company.
I know. You're good.
Don't forget your purse.
Hey, neighbor,
The downside is you have to put up with me.
in the city meeting.
I guess if we go in alphabetic order, did you want to move over here? Brian, come before stand.
We're all good.
We'll move next meeting.
Well,
You didn't want to be both.
No.
I
can comb my hair, though.
Upside down.
Oh, my goodness.
Am I standing on my head, too?
Now I'm closer to the
well,
city.
you know, I thought you had a lot of questions before. Now I am worried. You'll have a lot of interaction.
Good.
Good,
Keep you on your toes.
good. Okay, next item of business will be municipal court building completion items. Mr. Dinkle.
As you know, we've been moving through the project, and of course, this building's in use. Of course, second commission meeting here, we've had court here, and I think everything's adapting well, but still have the process with closing out the building project. And I have met with Bruce Miller, architect, on a couple of occasions and talked of different options from the, of course, the building is not done when it was supposed to be done last year in April. But we had some delays. There's some additional items to be considered and everything else. We've had a lot of discussion on this, both in-house and also at commission meetings. So I think the purpose of tonight is to have Bruce come and to explain, you know, the status on the building and make some recommendations to the city commission that I may chime in as well. And the contractor was contacted by the architect, so just so you know that he was.
Okay. Mr. McMillan.
It's in back there.
He's here. Oh, yes, he is.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Sorry, Mr. Garrick.
I have Eric Baker with me as well. So, Mr. Mayor, members of the Commissioner, you look very, very good up there tonight, I will say that for you. And this looks pretty good tonight here, too, as far as that's concerned. As the city manager mentioned, we have had a couple of different discussions, and Mr. Cheney is here as well, who may want to make some comments after we've presented the documents that we have here this evening. What I've done, actually what Garrick did, is we put together sort of a little mini agenda for you on this so that we can kind of walk through some of these if we may.
Okay.
Thank you.
In the packet of information that was transmitted to the city manager within the last several days, we have a cover letter that indicates a series of events over the past number of months as we have arrived at tonight. I won't read through this. You've had the opportunity to do so, but I'll just hit a few high points here. That the contract was an original 210-day contract to be initially completed on March 31st of 2015. The Commission has authorized up until this time, an additional 13 days, which the current substantial completion date for the contract stands at April 13th of 2015. There is paperwork that we'll discuss in a moment regarding possible extensions for that. However, at your March 1st meeting, as you may recall, there was action taken that you identified that February 15th, 2016 would be the substantial completion date that you accepted or authorized, and there's paperwork to address that as well. Over the course of the project, however, Cheney Construction Company did request another 104 days by either change order or contingency items or whatever those might be. Garrick will go over some of that in brief in just a moment. Those days were held in reserve. They were not authorized at the time, however. In addition to the items that I've just noted, you authorized 2 change orders totaling $40,053. So the contract now stands at $959,435, and there are 2 other change order items and a substantial completion form attached that we will go over shortly as well. By virtue of this, the 104 days being added would take the contract completion date to July 26th of 2015. That would still leave another 204 days from July 26th of 2015 to February 15th of 2016, and I have a date mistype there, that would be accounted for potential liquidated damages on the project. At 204 days, at $100 a day, that's $20,400. I go through a statement there that by staff's authorization, we were paid an additional $19,227, over our contract agreed upon time by virtue of the additional time devoted to the project. Liquidated damages were discussed as being assigned to cover those additional fees, and they do. Currently, a pay request from Cheney Construction Company shows $50,631.09 as an outstanding pay amount still to be paid out on this contract. A change order, which is described in further detail, would add $7,546 and bring a remaining balance due of $58,177.09, with the deduct of the liquidated damages of $20,400, an amount of $37,777.09 would then be due to Cheney Construction Company. 2 items that are noted are the replacement of the glass in the security windows in the clerk's office and an access ladder for the rooftop mechanical equipment would account for approximately $7,500, and a few miscellaneous items that still need to be taken care of. That would be held back at this time, and a current payment could be made to Cheney Construction for $30,277.09. The next portion of your packet is a breakdown of how those costs were assigned. I'm going to have Garrick briefly just highlight a couple of those, telling you how we got to change order number 5. If you have any questions whatsoever on the item, the breakdown, how it was assigned, please let us know. We'll try to take care of that.
Just as a few clarification things, the first 2 items that you see there, the one with void and request for 110 days, the first one that was voided was change order number 1. It was a no cost and no added days change order that we just did for some paperwork within our office. The rejected number 3 was whenever we approached you last year asking for the 110 days from the contractor, and that was not accepted. The item that you see over on the far left is what we call the PCO, Proposed Change Order. That just comes through our office so we can keep track of those. With each one of those, there becomes a day requested if it will add any days to the contractor and to the construction timeline. Days approved, if you see any items within that column, those have already been approved through change order number 2. And then we also show the date submitted, the item description. Where we show rejected, not needed, or reallocated, some of those, such as PCO number 2 and number 3, we had an option to go with a more expensive option or a cheaper option. So believe number 3 was not needed, so we did not use that. And if you try calculating the numbers at the very bottom, you'll see that if you try adding all of those numbers, they don't add up. So we just, the ones that we do not need, we did not calculate into there because they were not accepted. The contingency allowance, you'll see all of those items listed out there as well, and then the change order status as well as the change order number. Some of the items that were reallocated, items number 7 and 17, those had to go hand in hand during the construction process, so we just combined those into a later one, I believe under 23. Number 9 and number 20 were also combined as well, just to simplify things down. When we say things were applied to the contingency allowance, that amount was already built into the contract, and we had an original contingency allowance of $20,000. We also built in a testing allowance to test the concrete and the masonry walls and things like that to make sure everything was structural as well. We had allotted $10,000 for that. There was a remaining $1,000 that we just went ahead and added to that contingency allowance. We also had a remaining utility allowance. That was for the utility survey. We estimated $5,000 in there just to be on the safe side, and we had $3,990 left over. Therefore, we had $24,000 and $990, I guess, that was available to be used towards these contingency allowances, in which city staff, with their authorization, went ahead and moved forward with some of those items. But if you have any questions on any of those, we can go ahead and answer those as well.
How was the 104 days added to the completion time arrived at?
The 104 days,
And what was the reason for it?
a few of the items, I believe number 5 and items such as that were requests from city staff to add extra outlets. I believe there's a copy machine in the back storage room, things like that, that would add days to the contract that were not originally bid within the original contract. And the 104 days were the original contingency items that we had agreed upon during the process, but had not actually approved the days. So we just went ahead and totaled up those reserve days.
Commissioner, those days were actually, as Garrick said, requested over the course of the project. During the discussion with the city manager, it was indicated that that may be a potential, and change my wording here if it's incorrect, could be an allocation or a compromise, if you will, over the actual number of days that we are over, and to find a middle ground, essentially, is I think where we were trying to come up with.
I think it's pretty true. You know, I believe that you get to this point in the project, and, you know, I know there was days asked for a year ago in February. It was my recommendation not to, but I think you want to see the whole, you know, my experience has been I want to see the whole body of work, and then you can work through those decisions at that point in time.
Are there further questions on the allocations? Okay. What transpires then is that there are 2 items that, actually 3, that are attributable to modifications or extra items that were either not covered by contingency, requested over the course of the project by staff or the police department, or just became necessary as part of the construction process that we were not able to actually allocate over to contingency or had not already been approved in a change order. And those are listed for a total there of $7,546. If that would be added to the existing contract amount of $959,435, which is the resulting number from your first previous change orders that you've allowed, that would bring the contract to the $966,981, and we also show the potential for adding the 104 days as part of that change order, bringing the contract completion date then to the July 26, 2015 date. From there, and if you have any questions, please ask. From there then, however, we have to take into consideration that the amount being calculated for potential liquidated damages on the 204 days, which is accountable from July 26th of 2015 to your accepted substantial completion date of February 15th of 2016, is $20,400. That then gets reduced from the amount at the end of change order number 5, bringing that back down to $946,581 as a potential final construction contract amount. If there aren't any questions there. Now, I have not signed that one yet, but can, unless there is another amount that the Commission wants to entertain there. At that juncture, then, if those two change orders would be accepted and authorized, we would have a certificate of substantial completion. These are all standard construction documents that are produced by AIA that we use on projects throughout all of the work we do. There is a segment in that document, however, that says what, if any, is an amount of unfinished work on the project. The $7,500 is an approximate amount that we've identified through talking with Interstate Jayhawk Glass of the glass panels that need to be replaced at the clerk's office, the ladder to be installed for access from the mechanical unit on the roof of this building, and a few miscellaneous items that need still to be taken care of.
Have we already paid for those glass panels once?
Yes.
So these are
They have been,
paid for.
they were,
It's being replaced.
right, but
Not paying for it.
this is an insurance, if you will, that they will be replaced. So we are holding that back until such time.
It's just a hold.
It's a hold.
Right.
That's all this is.
Right.
This is
Okay,
just a
just wanna make
hold,
sure.
is all it is. It's not a reduction.
But you're taking off of the back end.
Right.
So
Yeah, it's not a reduction, it's simply a hold.
Got it. Thank you.
Another term, it's not really an escrow, but it acts like an escrow is what it does. This would then recognize that there is a 1-year labor and material warranty on the project from February 15th of 2016 to February 15th of 2017. During the course of the project, and you'll note in the last typewritten section on this form, there was a concern over the concrete placement at a column on this corner of the building. At the time, it was discussed with the contractor, and we were assured that we would be allowed to have a 5-year warranty on any discrepancy, any failure, or any displacement that would occur for that particular column location. And Ms. Beatty will recall that conversation probably. So that
Do you have that in writing?
we have it noted here, and we will have it in a set of meeting minutes as well. Yes. And so with those 3 documents and your action, it would bring the project to a state of substantial completion and create a final dollar amount for your consideration to be awarded, and the amount to be held back until such time as the remaining work that's been identified here is complete. And we'll stand for questions. Mr. Cheney is here. I'm sure he would like to address the commission as well. But we are available for questions at this time if need be.
All of the change orders have been authorized and approved.
To this point, 5 and 6 are waiting for your approval at this time.
Okay. And we have a retainage to complete the items that are not completed yet.
With the change order, there would be about $58,000 that has not been paid out to the contractor. This is over the 5% retainage that is required by state statute. But of that $58,000, we're recommending to hold back the $7,500,
Okay.
plus the deduct for the liquidated damages would come off of that total amount as well.
Okay.
And we'll be glad to work through any of that you care to.
Further questions of Mr. McMillan?
So for a 9 to 12-month delay, we save $13,000.
Potentially.
Okay.
Your math is better than mine without the calculator.
He's quick that way.
I'm sure he is.
The items that are left to get finished, is that warranty, is it going to fall within that 1-year time frame, or is it going to pick up whenever those ones are done?
No, those would need to be completed within the warranty period. And if I can double check myself here, the substantial completion form notes that you accepted the building on February 16th, but the items on that form would typically be completed within a 30-day time period. And we can, and you'll see here, if you go down to under the $7,500 number, there's a sentence that says, the contractor will complete or correct the work on the list of items attached hereto within 30 days from the substantial completion. Now, we are past that. I will acknowledge that right now. But we would indicate that that date can be adjusted, or within the meeting minutes of this meeting can be acknowledged as 30 days from today, at your discretion. If that changed to 90 days, for instance, that would give us about another 3 to 4 weeks to accomplish.
Does that add any further days, or is it already calculated in the original?
That would already be calculated in. All we would be doing is allowing a little more leeway because of the sequence of the meetings that we've been holding and the dates that you've taken action upon.
Okay.
We would just, by extending the completion within, rather than 30 days to 90, that would take it to the middle of next month, which from today forward still gives some time.
Okay.
We have talked with Interstate Glass. To our knowledge, that the glass either is here or should be here. Mr. Cheney may know more than I at the very moment, and is available to be reinstalled. The latter, as I understand, will need to be ordered and brought in, but that is the only item that is not yet purchased, as I understand.
So when we were told at the end of January that the glass would be in by February 4, that really wasn't true.
According to the information that I have at this point, Interstate Glass told me on the phone last week,
Okay.
as recently as last week, that the glass would be here and would be installed supposedly this week. So the February 4th date was apparently optimistic, I guess is what I would offer at this point.
Okay. Jim, you have a question?
We get one opportunity to talk about this, and we don't get to do it in a work session. We get to do it in a formal session. So there's a lot of questions that are out there, and I think with the contractor back there and you, and this isn't about, I'm your friend, you're my friend. This is about quite a sum of money that was spent, and we really want to know, the public wants to know where and how did this get pushed back. We go back to when the initial design was, and Mr. Cheney's back there, and I would ask you to come up if you want to elaborate on this. But when the initial design came out, it came to your firm, and then was sent off to Wichita, and this was what was told to us, and then in Wichita it got kicked back, correct?
No, sir. The contract was let to Cheney Construction Company after we completed the construction documents, all the bidding documents. We put the project out to bid, and several general contractors bid the project.
Correct.
You, as the commission, awarded the construction contract to Cheney Construction Company. Okay? At that juncture, then, a contractor, Mr. Cheney or any other contractor, will start assembling the components, the building materials that will actually go into the project. One of those is a set of structural drawings based upon the structural drawings that are in the construction documents that we prepared from a fabricator and vendor. Those are called shop drawings. The shop drawings were submitted by Cheney Construction Company for the erection of the steel structure and the membrane on this building. They were submitted. We forwarded those to our structural engineer. This is during the construction period. This is not during the plan preparation process. This is during the construction period. The shop drawings were forwarded to our structural engineer for review, concurrence, and authorization to proceed. The shop drawings did not meet the structural engineer's documents that were
Shop
prepared.
drawings are the contractors.
They are the contractor's drawings that are submitted to us. We forward those to the structural engineer. They were rejected and sent back for further detailing, further information, and correction. They were resubmitted a second time. They were forwarded back to our structural engineer again. They were rejected a second time because they didn't meet the structural calculations that were specified in the documents that were provided for bidding purposes.
Okay, so how much time are we talking in the two rejections right now?
I can get that time frame for you, Commissioner.
It can be
The overall, by the time we got back and the third submittal, which was approved, it was probably in excess of 30, possibly up to 60 days. Mr. Cheney may have a better accurate number of days on that than I do at the moment, but we can get that for you.
but probably no more than 30 days then.
Possibly not more than that. It could have been in between 30 and 60, possibly.
Okay. Where I'm going with this is, I know we heard from Mr. Cheney, and he said because of structural design. So the structural design part that failed is actually on the contractor then and not on the architect.
It's not necessarily on the contractor, sir. It's on the vendor.
Okay.
The vendor or the provider, the building system manufacturer is where the problem occurred. Mr. Cheney submitted everything as he needed to. They were forwarded as we needed to our engineer, but it was the vendor that was amiss, I guess is the word I would use, in providing documents that met the requirements of the structural drawings that were issued for the project. That is our understanding and our interpretation of the process that actually occurred.
And then from what I understand, with Mr. Cheney, when he had put his request in for said materials for this building, another contractor came in requesting the same type of materials where your project got delayed, correct?
Well, good evening.
Good evening.
You guys look good up there. We got a notice to proceed on August 11th, and I immediately ordered, in fact, I sent a 20% down payment to the metal building manufacturer on August 11th. I got my first submittals back from the metal building manufacturer on September 29th, which was actually very good if you deal with metal building manufacturers. They're very rigid with their time, and they're just different. It doesn't make them bad, but they're real rigid with their timetables and their designs and stuff. So anyway, we got the first one set back on the 29th of September. Received them back from the architect, rejected on October 2nd. So now we got to go back, and it's got to fall back in line with the metal building people to their schedule. We got it back November 21st from them. We submitted it to Ruth on the 21st. Received them back from the 21st of November. And then we received them back from Architect on the 25th, and then we sent them back to immediately to the metal building people. We received them back from them on December the 9th, sent them to the Architect on December the 9th. Received them back from Architect on December 15th, approved. The building was scheduled actually to be delivered and I don't have that date right here. It was like November 15th or 12th, something like that, is when we expected to be putting the building up.
Providing you got the materials.
Providing
You
the
have the
materials.
approval.
And along with the design, there's certain part of the foundation we couldn't do until we had the design of the building, because those two are kind of tied, and until you have a design of a metal building, no matter whose manufacturer it is, the foundation sometimes has to be modified, or anchor bolts have to be in different positions because different manufacturers, different designs put them in different places. It might only be a few inches here or there, but it's a few inches here or there. So, and by all this happening, a big government order came in to the manufacturer.
That's the one I was looking for.
And that kicked us out to where we couldn't get the building, no matter what I offered, whatever, until April 1st, at which time then we were able to.
So there was 3.5 months before plans actually got approved that the vendor submitted,
Yes,
from the latter part of August through the mid part of December.
yes. And I was
And you had to
working,
get in the building queue for the vendor.
yes. And then once it did, somebody beat us there because, like I said, they first come, first serve is how they are. And it's not just this building vendor. I've been around for a while. I've dealt with several different vendors, and I must say they're all the same. Unless you get little Johnny out here in the field somewhere that's trying to start his own business, then you might be able to get a building, but that's nothing that you guys would ever.
Is there more
Except-
than one vendor that you could have gone to?
No. Once I committed, no. That wasn't even an option. So what was the holdup with the original rejection from the structural engineer? I mean, you talked 3.5 months, and this kept going back and forth. The vendor is required, correct me if I'm wrong, the vendor is required to meet specification or value engineer a different process, correct?
Agreed. But what you really have in reality you have two engineers, and you have two different engineers because they think differently. A pre-engineered building uses different steel than conventional construction. And so they react differently, they load them up differently, and so you have two different engineers trying to communicate, and this is what you get sometimes.
Bruce's engineer is a very competent engineer, but as I was taking it, they were kind of talking two different languages, or just didn't quite. Okay.
Engineers are engineers. I don't understand talking two different languages. Engineers are a critter all to themselves. And what I'm getting at is, when I have a set of specifications sitting in front of me, and I do the materials testing, if it doesn't meet that specification, I would go back and say, it doesn't meet the specification, whether it's ASTM or whatever those specifications were. I would say it doesn't meet the specification. If the engineer says, well, where does it not meet, then they may have a little confusion.
The economy of a metal building is they have a unique design for their type of structures, as opposed to structural engineers I deal with, probably 80% of the time. They have hot rolled sections that they deal with, and those have different characteristics than a metal building. So if you couldn't afford to do this structure with conventional construction, or you could afford it, but it's going to cost you a lot more money, because the metal building engineers tweak it and tweak it and tweak it to get it to make this span and carry the loads that you want it to carry. So they do talk different languages. They're both engineers, but they do.
Well, I'll give you that much, that a metal building versus a conventional steel structure, brick, I get that they're different buildings. I guess where I'm missing it, and I just don't quite understand, and I need your help, is that if a specification in a shop drawing was rejected, not once, but twice, why did it take that long? You're saying that the reason why it took so long and you got thrown into another queue is because the engineer rejected it. That's what I'm hearing you say.
And that's correct.
Well, they didn't meet the specifications,
No,
so...
as I understand what was going on,
Okay.
is Bruce's engineer was trying to understand the calculations of the metal building engineer, and they calculate their stuff differently.
He wasn't competent
No.
to do the review of the specifications, is what you're saying, in your opinion.
No, I don't quite understand.
He didn't understand, and therefore he rejected the shop drawings because he didn't understand that industry.
That's my take on it. Yes.
Okay.
And that's not putting Bruce's engineer down at all.
No, that's fair. I
But
just tried to see where you were coming from as to how this got delayed and why it got delayed. I think Mr. Sands asked what caused the delay.
Mm-hmm.
And if it was the manufacturer couldn't meet the specification to the satisfaction of the architect, I just wanted to make sure that we're talking all the same line here. If I understand, if it didn't meet the specification, it gets kicked back. And for the times of August, September, October, November, approved in December, sounds like it was pretty rapid back and forth. I think 30 days is normal.
Well, actually, yes. I mean, I've had other. I've used metal buildings often, and they're always scary.
Okay.
Because they're rigid, and this was a rigid building, so it's probably a bad term, but they are very rigid, and they take it as it comes in. It gets rejected, and then you have to fall back in line for them to review it again.
Okay.
And you can holler and scream and do whatever you want to do, and
They kind of got you. It happens when it happens.
that's exactly right.
Okay.
And so it's out of my control. other than do whatever I need to do to speed it up.
Okay.
But going back on a timeline, and Mr. McMillan and Mr. Cheney and Mr., I forgot your name,
Baker.
Baker. We're at April 1st, 2015. There's been some work done, and I wish I had kept a timeline on taking pictures because I sat over there drinking coffee, watching as it was being done, as it wasn't being done. So it sounds like April 1st, 2015, the order is kicked to the side by a government order, correct?
Yes, that's what happened. That's reality.
We really didn't get started until after April.
15.
We're limited to how much foundation we can put in until we get the shop drawings all approved and know where all anchor bolts go and all this kind of stuff. Then we can start foundations or continue with them. Of course, then that put us in dead winter. Didn't help us any.
So
We had the wettest year on record for that whole darn year. That didn't help us any.
So in actuality, you probably performed the way you were supposed to. You just had to wait for the materials to be available to you to fit the architectural design and engineering design and say, yes, this is the right metal that'll fit on this right foundation with the studs fitted to fit in these metal holes, correct?
Well, I believe so. Now, I'm not going to stand here and tell you, because I've already told you before, that I could have got the building done sooner, all right? So, did I delay it this much? I don't believe so. But did I have some? Yeah, I'll take some of it. I'd be a fool to try to sell you on any other idea. So, but
Mr. Cheney, I have one more question for you. I know you were doing several projects, one in Manhattan. I went to that one about once a month, and I think you had one in Salina. Did you have too many projects going on? Or if you weren't doing those projects, would you have had more people here?
I'm used to having several projects going on at a time.
Okay.
That's if I don't, I'm not going to stay in business very long.
So you weren't stretched too
Because
thin
that's
doing
just
this?
the size I am. I have to have several projects going.
Okay.
So no, that's.
Okay.
I had two companies on this. I had Concrete Crew Company and also my regular Cheney Construction Company working on this thing. So,
Well, gentlemen, I want you to know I did want to ask the questions, and I want to ask the questions of you because those are questions that are asked of me. And so I came at you the same way people come at me, and I can't butter it up. I can't make it look better, but I have a good representation of what happened. I respect the three of you for the project that you have done here. This is a great-looking building. It took a while for it to get here. We can go back and continue to look back and say, this should happen, this should happen. Financially, some of that's got to happen. But I'm happy with the project. I think from the time that you got the order in and received the product, you did pretty good.
well,
A year later, and that's about when you actually started, was around the 15th of April, 2015. And you're in around February 19th, I think, of 2016. You were finished.
well, yes. But I'd like to. Okay. First off, I think I gave you a great project. I think it's. I'll show it to any of my competition. Is it perfect? No, there's nothing perfect.
No.
But I think we did a very nice job for you. And in the meantime, we saved you $150,000. And you still got the quality job you'd got from somebody else.
Exactly. Looked great.
That I'm sure of. Timetable-wise, somebody probably could have done it faster than I did. But I know, even though it took me longer to do it, I know what I've done is good. And I don't have any problem warranting any of it, including the foundation that had a little honeycomb in under that I think I kind of blown out of proportion. But, that's you guys' right. I'll back it up for 5 years. Sign a letter, I don't care, because I know it's okay. Wasn't okay, we probably wouldn't be sitting in here
Exactly.
talking about it. We'd already have some trouble. So we address the issue, all mistakes are made. That's why they put shims in cars and stuff like that, just because nothing's manufactured perfectly and sometimes you got to tweak it.
Gentlemen,
So,
thank you.
so that column's tweaked.
Your Honor, I have no further questions. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. But what I would like to address is I know we did last time, the substantial completion date. no, November 4th was what I wrote a letter to Bruce on November 3rd saying the same was complete, substantially complete for beneficial occupancy. And that's stated in Bruce's letter the other day for beneficial occupancy of the owner. Well, the only difference between 4th of November and today are the flags, the monitors, the cameras, the security, and this desk is completely put together. We were asked to leave it apart where you guys found it so you could do your electronics. Those electronics could have been done back in September when we moved this desk over here, because we were prepared. When we made a template up, we knew what was going on. We pulled the desk up, we moved it over, we stuck it in place. At that time, we work with security people and all these kind of vendors all the time. This happened to be your own people or your own vendors. At that time, we could have worked hand in hand, and this desk would have been done November 4th. And all you'd had to do is move in, and that didn't happen. You know, it could have happened. So now we're talking about February 15th. Where that number date came from, I don't know. You know, we do buildings all the time, and gosh, I'm going to talk like other contractors. We all have owners moving into buildings in a whole lot different shape than this one was. This one was done. You know, you could have moved in. But now and I don't understand why you didn't move in until now.
Well, we hired Mr. McMillan's firm to be our architect and inspect the building, and he was going to let us know when it was ready to go.
Well,
He didn't. He said that there were too many things that weren't completed to his satisfaction for us to be able to move in and take ownership. That's why. So
There was
we don't-
230-some punch items, right?
Exactly. We don't
That-
have.
that's not
this is why
uncommon.
we hired him to do this, okay? That we don't have time to do all this stuff. This is why we have him do it.
Right.
He's the expert. If he says it's not done, I'm not moving in.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
So until he's satisfied, when all those punch items are really knocked down significantly, we weren't moving in. So November 4th wasn't going to happen. People in this community haven't been able to watch our meetings, which they probably have found other things to do with their time, since August. Because we thought we would have been in even last summer. I remember last July we thought we'd be in. Didn't happen. Done and gone. So no one's been able to either see a commission meeting since August and keep up with things other than what they catch in the newspaper. So, you know, we got flack all the time. Why isn't that building out? I don't know. I mean, we face this weekly
I understand.
with the delay.
I understand, but the sad part is it was done in November.
Not to our architect's spec. I'm sorry, this is his job. This
You
is
know,
what he tells us.
Okay, that's fine, but it can go on forever and ever and ever if somebody wants it to. And I can tell you this, from day one on this project, I've had a lot of resistance. And I really didn't come here to sit here and argue about this tonight. I disagree with the February 15th date. It just, you know, I don't even have an occupancy permit for this thing yet. Does anybody know where that's at?
I want to refer to the architect, I mean, because he'll tell us when to do those things.
You know, I asked for that back in November. And the architect has nothing to do with it. I make the call.
And you asked who? My building codes people?
You know, I don't,
Okay, I mean,
it's not the building codes guy, I can tell you. I can
It
tell
was
you
never
that.
asked of me.
I don't know if I agree with that.
Okay.
Buildings code guy was great to work with on this project. I have no problems with the buildings code guy. But somewhere, somehow, screeching halt came to that process, and I don't have an occupancy permit. So technically, we shouldn't even be in here. I know we talked about it last time. No, technically, we should not, none of us should be in this building in a meeting because we don't have an occupancy permit. And that's, in my opinion, it's not Mark's fault.
Okay. That's your opinion.
No, it's fact. I'm only stating fact.
I misunderstood you then. I thought you said in my opinion.
Okay, excuse me, but we don't have one. It's just, it's silly that we don't have one.
Okay. Okay.
So, I don't know. You're getting tired of this project, I'm getting tired of this project. The good thing
Happy
about
to
it...
be in here. Let's just put it that way.
The good thing is you have a nice building.
We do. We appreciate it.
And not only 150,000 savings, there's a lot of things that we did extra for you that you didn't get paid, that we didn't get paid for. We did it to keep the project moving. And I could go around the room and point things out right in here that cost several $1,000s to keep this project rolling that I couldn't get answers for. But I took the bull by the horn and took care of it. So.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And just one more thing. I don't see this thing getting finalized tonight because I'm not going to sign the substantial completion as of February 15th, and I don't agree with the liquidated damage calculations. I don't agree with it. So.
Okay, I don't know what that next step is, but that's fine.
I would like to make one other point. I redesigned the roof out here so it wouldn't leak because it wasn't designed properly, and there was a major problem that we'd all have to live with if I built it like it was depicted. I'm done designing the ladder thing. I told you guys in the last meeting that I wasn't in the design business, that I needed a design on the ladder back there. And I'll be happy to build it, but I need a design for it. Just simply a ladder purchased from a manufacturer is not all it needs. It needs some structural design to support that ladder and support the body and the equipment that's going to go up and over that ladder. And so when we say it's not complete, it's never been mine to complete because I don't have a change order for it. So the only thing we have outstanding is the glass, and that's been out of our control. It's been out of Jayhawk's control.
Okay.
You know, it's a cosmetic thing. It's not a structural thing. It's not a safety thing. It's purely cosmetic. And that can be switched out at any time, and will be. It should be switched out hopefully this week.
Okay.
But that's been out of even Jayhawk's control as far as getting a replacement glass. We've never said we wouldn't do it. We just couldn't get a hold of it. So,
Okay.
thank you guys.
Thank you. Further discussion?
And here.
Ready to move?
Yep.
Okay. Mr. Dinkle, what were you looking for the final outcome on this?
I'm going to have to probably refer to the architect in this one here, but our recommendation is to add the additional days and then the liquidated damages from that date till March the 15th.
February
Or
15th.
February 15th, excuse me,
Okay.
February 15th. As, you know, that was the date that was set by the architect of substantial completion. So, and I thought that was the compromise that we could work with, other than the full 330. My only comment, and as I've told you more than once, I was not here when the bids came in. I wasn't employed here yet, but when you look, you commission had two issues to decide when you received bids. You had architect's design, that was all done. They all bid the same project. You had two issues. One was price, one was days. And in reviewing the bids, this was, of course, the cheapest price, and I agree with that. It was cheaper than anybody else. But also, in the days that you were allowed, it was also less than. My concern on days is simply from the fact of any other city project, if it's okay to be 100 days over what you said it was on this project, so when John's asphalt does a street project, and is 50 days behind, is that okay? When, another company does this and they're behind what they promised in the contract, will it be okay if Walters Morgan exceeds their 500 and whatever days it is for the sewer fund projects? Well, if you allow one project, should you allow all projects? And that's my concern. And same way with picking the contractors we're working with.
The two most important items in a contract are time and money. Is it on time, and is it within budget? Those are the two most important things. An architect will disagree with me. There's many more items that he looks at, but from a macro view, if it's on time and within budget, we're all happy.
Supposedly so, yes.
Yes, okay. Mr. McMillan,
Yes, sir.
you had further information to close this out. What are you looking for?
At this point, I think we're looking for a determination by the City Commission on what your pleasure is at this point. When I appeared before you earlier, the indication at that time was that there was a recommendation of a substantial completion no later than February 15th of 2016. That was the date the Commission chose to accept. So that was what the days were calculated based upon. And if that date should be adjusted based upon the Commission's discretion, we can revise the paperwork and provide that to you for your consideration.
In February, I believe we discussed as a commission of the outstanding items that needed to be completed and the items on the punch list that had been completed satisfactorily to the architect and the city. And at that time, February 15th, we felt that the information that we were given, we could complete it that day and start moving in furniture, IT equipment, such and so forth.
At the city's discretion, yes.
And prior to that time, there was more work that needed to be completed or redone. We felt that up until that time, there was work being done.
There was work being done.
Practically on a daily basis. We noticed. And then on February 15th, the Commission decided that after looking at the building and looking at the list of items to be done yet, we could start moving from that day forward. And that was agreed to by the Commission as the completion date.
Yes, sir. You toured the building and subsequently had a Commission meeting after that tour, and that was when the final decision was made by the Commission, yes.
Is there any change on the Commission since that time in February 15th as far as completion date? Has there been any thoughts? Has there been any reason to change that date?
I haven't seen or heard anything to make me think we ought to change the date.
Me either.
No.
Not sure.
Okay. That's fair. Okay. The completion date was February 15th.
Okay.
So do you need approval of your documents G701 and G704? Is that what you're looking for tonight?
Yes, sir. I'm looking for, at the Commission's discretion, to close out the project from the city standpoint. I realize Mr. Cheney has indicated that he is not willing to sign. I can't give you a legal piece of advice about how that works without the contractor's signature. That would have to come from your legal counsel or an appointed legal counsel on that.
So I wanted to remind you again, because I have reminded you before, that our firm does represent Cheney Construction, not on this matter at all. I've never met Mr. Cheney. The people in my firm who have done work for him, and I don't know if there are any current projects with that we represent him in, but there have been past, so I do have a conflict. But I can just generally say, because this would be my answer, regardless of who your contract was with, if Mr. Cheney isn't willing to, you may approve these change orders for signature by these are all change orders, aren't they, Bruce?
2 change orders, ma'am, and 1 substantial completion form, yes.
Completion.
Mhm.
You might approve them for execution, but they really have no legal effect unless Mr. Cheney agrees to them as well. I don't think it hurts for you to approve them, but you're approving them subject to his also agreeing to them, and you wouldn't release any funds unless he had signed them as well. Because until all the parties sign this agreement, you don't have an agreement. But if you're willing, I think it's fine for you to indicate if you're in agreement with these change orders, that's subject to his also, all the well, you've already signed them, I believe.
Yes.
The change orders and the certificate, that you approve them as long as he also is willing to execute them. Because he's not bound by them unless he signs them as well.
I do have one question, Bruce.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Cheney made the comment that we need a design on the ladder. On the ladder.
The design on the ladder.
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Cheney made a comment.
We will provide whatever is needed
Okay.
for that. And we have a general price on that, which is reflected in that total of $7,500.
Okay.
Mr. Cheney, I saw you raise your hand. Do you have further?
Well, yes, I'd like to address substantial completion and completion of a project. Those are 2 different terms, and I think you're getting confused with that. I don't think you're getting it explained properly. Substantial completion is where owner has beneficial occupancy, meaning they can come in and use the building for its intended use. You had that November 4th. Final completion is when all punch list items are done. Corrections or materials that might be short or something like that. That's completion of the project. So there's 2 different things. I'm not sure you understand that. Maybe you do, but we've got 2 different completions we're really talking about.
Okay.
And on the latter deal, that's showing up as an item that I've not done. No, I haven't, and I'm not contractually obligated to do it. I will do it, but I need a design, and I'll have to rework my number according to the design, unless it falls in with my guess of what it was. But I'm just not going to take the liability of hanging a ladder on the side of this is a farm building back here. Your old building's kind of like a farm building, and you have a little fascia thing hanging around the side of it. It's held up okay, but it's not designed for a body to climb up and over it. So I don't want to take the liability. I can build it once it's designed, but...
Okay, understood.
Okay.
Thank you. Well, I don't see any problem with committing to these documents personally. As far as I see the documents from a city standpoint, I'm willing to execute. as the commission wishes.
I would move to approve change order 5.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I'm just not sure that this is going to get us anywhere.
Yeah.
He's already said he's not going to sign it anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So basically, we're at 2.5 months difference in opinion, right? I mean, 3.5 actually.
November, December, January,
January,
February.
and half February, right?
Right.
So that comes down to $3,000 a month. So there's $9,000, $10,500 difference. So, you know, is it worth getting into a spitting contest over that? We want to just cut our losses and get out? Or do we want to, you know, get into a legal battle and start throwing rocks at each other? Is that worth paying attorneys to jack around with that? I think that's the real question. We can dig our feet in the sand all we want, but do we want to be done? Is it right? Probably not, but, you know, how much money do you want to spend to prove you're right?
And I'm a little concerned with the precedent we set.
Oh, I get it. Believe me, I get it.
Why can't we meet halfway in the middle?
I mean, regardless of all the metal building and the building queue and 8 months before we even pull out the hammer to do anything, we're still a year out.
Mhm.
You know, so this is an issue, and you got to kind of look at it through our eyes. I mean, I understand you got your concerns too. I get it, but you know, any other contractor out there can point to this day. So we got to carry that burden. So now that I've muddied everything up really good here.
Well, we still have a motion and a second, and we have discussion, so. Any further discussion?
My thought is, even when you look at 90 days to get a building because of this and that and whatever, we're still a year past.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's,
They built a Walmart last time.
yes. My thought is if we approve all this to sign, Mr. Cheney can think about whether or not he wants to, or he can come to the table and tell us what it's going to take to make him sign or get him to sign. Make him willing to sign.
I speak? You know, again, I'm not perfect on this matter. Never have said I was. But what I really don't like is we're going from November 4th, when the darn thing was done, to February 15th, when you say you can move in.
Mr. Cheney, it wasn't done. There was 230 punch items we couldn't get into the building.
20,
That's why we
20
met.
or 20 or 30
Our
items.
decision was there was too many punch items. You keep bringing that November 4 issue up, and we keep going over it and over it, and it's a broken record.
Okay. Then
There was 230 items that weren't done. We felt that somebody needed to do the work before we could move in. I know what your opinion is. Your opinion is substantial completion was November 4. Our opinion was that substantial completion was February 15. That's the disconnect.
No, okay, that's fine. You just don't understand what substantial completion is. And on the punch list items, when you repeat clean a room 30 times,
When you only have to do it once,
you only have to list it once.
you got to clean it.
It's 30
You
punch
got
list
to clean
items.
it one time.
It's 30 punch list items.
Okay, that gets it
And
down
then
to
there was like 20-some that were architectural things, and then some were change order items. So in fairness, the picture's not fair. You make it sound like it's a terrible building, and it wasn't.
No, nobody wants to make it sound like it's a terrible building. We, the commission and the city of Junction City, hire somebody to do this work for us. And when they come in and they say, look, folks, you have 230 items that need to be taken care of. And we look at that 230 items and say, you know what? It's not substantially complete.
Well, when I got a paint flick that I had to flick off a little piece of paint off that light switch over there as a punch list item, gives you kind of an idea what kind of a scrutiny this thing went through. So can you get to 200-some items quickly? You bet you can.
So why didn't we between November and February?
You know what? We could probably go through and find another 100 items.
Probably so. Another set of eyes could find another
You darn right you
bunch
can.
of items.
That's right.
Absolutely.
And that's what was going on around here.
But it didn't change. Those 230 items didn't accumulate. They didn't change. They didn't keep growing.
And most of them were worked off. We had some concrete deal out here needs taken care of. The punch list items, the bollards outside here that I had to put in because there weren't any designed to be there, were punch list items. You know, yeah. Punch list items are normal for a project. And I don't want 200-some items either. But it happens. You get this many rooms, it doesn't take very many items in a room to get to 200. I don't know how many rooms you have. You have 30-some rooms here. So you're talking 6 items in a room. Paint flick on this, right down here. That I saved you money by coming up with a different design idea for your handicap ramp. The carpet wasn't designed, wrong kind of carpet used for this situation. So we had to come in here, cut the carpet back, and put the tread there. Nosing, free, punch list item, 2 or 3 times. So I could just go through this over and over and over again. And it's not. I don't believe it's fair to keep saying there's excessive punch list items. I don't believe there were.
Okay.
And that's part of my disagreement on this. So anyway, enough said.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
No further discussion.
So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-1. The next item is number 6. Is that what it is?
Federal aid fund exchange.
Well, we had a change order 5.
No, we have 3 items here.
Change order 6.
Yeah, this is change order 6.
Yeah.
I would move to approve change order 6.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Nope.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-1. Next item is substantial completion.
I would move to approve the certificate of substantial completion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Next item on the agenda will be consideration of the Federal Aid Fund Exchange Master Agreement with KDOT. Ms. Beatty? Or Mr. Dinkle?
Either
way.
Either way?
Better.
Team up probably.
Flip a
We'll
coin?
team up on this one probably. Simply,
Oh, I'm sorry.
we discovered last year we had the federal exchange funds, we're moving forward with those. Every year you had to approve one at a time. KDOT's making a change, and I'll hand it up to Cheryl then. Go one time.
We found out that when we were trying to set it up with KDOT in regarding to how to move the program forward, that there was necessary to, in order to spend any money, what was called a KDOT agreement. And in 2015, they at 11 through 14, they had required them to be done annually. Well, now they've come up with the idea that they're going to do one master agreement from 2016 forward, so that it's just an automatic annual renewable thing, that we don't have to go back every single year and ask for permission for you to spend the money. It'll just be the money that was allocated to us, and everything is under this master agreement, and we'll continue to refer to it under one number and one master agreement, rather than having to do an annual every single year, do an agreement with KDOT. And so the 2015, I'll have a separate number and allocation, but then 16 forward, it'll always just be under this agreement. So it's just they're trying to simplify it, which is good for us, because it's difficult to track everything by all the different numbers they were giving us. So now we'll have the 2015 and the 2016 only. Everything that we spend this year will be under the 2015 agreement, and then starting with the 2016 projects forward, we'll be under the master agreement.
It appears for 2016, the numbers I was given by KDOT we're going to receive roughly $250,000.
Yeah.
Of course, that's at 10% they take off for the state. I mean, which gives us, it's federal money that's coming to us through the state. The exchange gives us a lot more latitude, and it's very worth doing. And I'm assuming, and I haven't asked Cheryl this for sure, but I'm assuming that the projects we're doing now, we're taking off the back end first, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
All of the funds prior to that will be under the 15 agreement, she said.
Yeah, okay.
And then the 16 forward will be on everything else.
Sounds good.
They're lumping it all into the 115 agreement, is the way she explained it to me.
This is generated by KDOT.
Yes.
Their wishes.
Yeah, the federal has to go through the KDOT program, and they set it up. We just have to agree to the conditions of it, so that it meets their compliance for federal use of federal money.
Okay.
And we're subsequently agreeing to the same rules and regulations that are within the agreement.
I'd move to approve the fund exchange master agreement as described.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
None here.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Now, consideration of Resolution R 2807, update the work schedule policy for dispatchers.
Good evening, Commissioners.
Good evening, Don.
Before you is a resolution to assist with the police department's dispatch schedules. Presently, this will affect 12 of their personnel. Presently, they are working on a standard schedule that all in-city employees are doing, which is a Monday through Sunday. However, through research, we realized that we were not exactly compliant with the Federal Labor and Standards Act, and we need to adjust their schedule to become a Sunday through Saturday. This will incur a savings for the police department of about $46,000. What this will end up doing is it will create two payrolls that do need to occur. All employees will still be paid on the same pay date, so that will not be affected.
Okay.
When you say savings, well, this police department and probably many others and other dispatchers in the state of Kansas,
Agencies of the same
and/or
size,
cities,
yes.
depending on this. Police are different. Police and fire are different than normal city employees or normal employees. Normal employees are 40 hours a week. More than 40 hours a week, you're subject to overtime or overtime provisions with comp time and everything else. Police are allowed, help me, 86?
Police are allowed 86. They are covered under
80-hour
the
period.
public safety exemption for the FLSA. Fire department is up to 112 in a 14-day period. Police is 86 in a 14-day period. Dispatchers are not considered public safety personnel because they are not trained to provide life-saving services, and they are not authorized to carry a weapon for protection and carry out the arrest piece of the pie, which is making them ordained officers in order to do this. So what the police department did, with the great help of Chief Brown and Sharon Riley, who's in charge of the director of the police communications, is they did the background research with our sister agencies to find out what other dispatch departments were doing. A great many of them are doing mandatory overtime because they too, like the Junction City Police Department, we're working very short staff. We have the wonderful privilege of now finally being at full staff, having all 12 personnel. So we are no longer having to work that mandatory overtime in order to meet the needs of the city. And that's how we ended up finding that we needed to make this adjustment now that we're fully staffed.
Well, the other issue we did have, and Chief, correct me if I'm wrong here, over the past, how long have you used police officers?
How long have you used police officers, sir?
Yeah, is there two of them?
One officer was about 2 years and another officer about a year.
And the reason they were there was because of light duty. They had injuries that they had sustained that would not allow them to be able to perform their full police
But
functions.
the difference is the salary schedule for a police officer, and they were still getting paid police officer's salary,
Exactly.
is greater than a dispatcher's salary. So the costs relative in place there. Staying on the Monday through Sunday schedule, it threw overtime, I mean, because if you pay your overtime, because 1 week you're working 3 shifts.
57 hours.
50, yeah, and then
57 hours 1 week, about 23, 34 the second week. What they try to implement is in order to provide continuity within the department, the dispatchers and the police officers basically mirror each other's schedules. They know each other's routines. They can, get comfortable with it. This scheduling has been in effect since 2002, so it's become a lifestyle for these dispatchers. And they actually looked at trying to change them to being 8 to 5 Monday through Friday, maybe 10 to 4s. We looked at other implementations to try to make this occur. That's going to impact their families, could potentially have us lose employees because now they've become accustomed. They know it's routine. I work this weekend, I'm off next weekend. It's become that muscle memory for them. So to make this change, to make them either a Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, or then now they could become Tuesday through Saturday, 4 to 10, whatever the case may be, that's a substantial change to an employee to have to incur. Whereas what we have asked is to just change the work cycle period so it doesn't impact the employee per se, their lifestyle per se. It just makes a little more work on my department.
which I still want to iterate, though, so everybody understands, the total dollars will go up some, because that 1 week they actually work less than 40 hours.
Correct.
1 week they work more than 40, and the more than 40, it's 30.
They work
34.
46 1 week, they'll work about 37 the next week. It comes out in the wash to
Yeah,
be
but-
3.5
Yeah.
extra.
Instead of taking and packaging it 80 in a 14-day period, we have to do 7-day periods. By moving that work week,
That 1 day.
Monday through Sunday, to a Sunday through Saturday.
Correct.
It evens out the schedule a little more, and it brought that amount down of potential overtime. Yes, you have a savings 1 week, but with the overtime, you have a higher expense, and this evens it more.
We keep it at its present pace. It's about $80,000 the police department's looking at and paying just overtime for this calendar fiscal year.
By moving to this, it's 30.
It's about $44,000 in overtime they would pay. No, I'm sorry, $36,000, so it's about
Savings.
$44,000 savings that they would have.
And do you have to pay the overtime by the week, or is it over the
Because-
2-week pay period?
Because, we are paid on a biweekly period, but it's incurred on a 7-day period because they are standard exempt, non-exempt employees. They're not under public safety rules and regulations that the federal guidelines are. So so 1 week they'll get the overtime, the next week they may not, depending on how their work cycle is.
Because I was having a hard time wrapping my head around if they're going to have 3 on, 2 off,
2 on, 3 off, correct.
and the same schedule, and just starting at a day different.
Just that 1 day difference makes all the
It
difference. It
didn't
goes from
make-
being a 57-hour week to a 46-hour week, just by moving that 1 day.
So they'd have 6 hours overtime one week, and they wouldn't
They
have any
would, they
overtime?
would not make 40 hours the next week, correct.
Right.
Correct.
But
But
you
that would
gotta-
not impact their benefits or
multiply.
anything either.
You got to multiply that week you're over by, 1.5%.
Time and a half. Mhm.
Time and a half.
Yeah.
The other thing is it won't impact any of their benefits or anything like that because they'll still be making over 35 hours in that week, so that would still qualify them as a full-time employee.
Are dispatchers union employees?
Negative. They are not, sir.
How are the employees taking this? How do the employees feel about the change from one day in the week, moving that day forward?
In regards to changing it from being a Monday through Sunday,
Yeah.
there's not going to be a physical change seen by them at all.
Because the
It's
schedule
going to be
will
transparent.
remain the same.
This schedule will remain the same. It'll be basically transparent because we're not changing their pay date. We're not changing how they're accruing their benefits, how they're accruing their vacation and their sick time or their PTO time. All we're doing is just adjusting that one day.
Yeah,
To get compliant with the federal work standards.
Correct.
If the firemen were not allowed to work a work period, we could go policemen, we could actually, for police and fire, do a 28-day work period.
Correct.
We don't. We've done 14s here probably forever, and you're allowed to do that. You can, you can do whatever you want to do. It's just so it meets that 20.
They have to work 8 hours within a 28 period.
28, yeah. And you can do that. So if you were not able to do that, we would be having the same issue with police.
Correct.
We don't have it because you're allowed to put it in a work period. We can't do work periods. I tried to do one with a water operation one time because on a water plant operate, you brought somebody on the weekend, they work certain days and how you move them around. And it had to work 4 days one week and 6 the next, and so you had those issues, and it is what it is.
And the reason I'm not asking to do it citywide is because of contracts we already have in existence with both police and fire. So it's just this one specific group of 12 folks.
Are the employees on board?
Be approved here.
Well, if this is a $44,000 savings to the city,
It will not affect their pay in any way, shape, or form.
They'll
It
actually-
would only, had we maintained the schedule like we did, it would have been a cost of about roughly between $44,000 and $47,000 more to maintain it like it was. But by reducing that, just that day, changing that pay period, it makes it only about, it reduces that down where Dawn said around $44,000 to $47,000.
36, yeah.
Yeah, it went from being
schedule
80 to
doesn't
36.
change.
Schedule doesn't change, nothing
Doesn't
changes.
change.
No,
Schedule doesn't
their
change,
take-home
pay
will
date
increase.
does not change.
Right.
Their take-home's increasing because we weren't doing it right,
Correct.
the way it is.
Timesheets are still turned in on Monday morning.
Yeah.
The only thing is that their pay period ends Saturday night instead of Sunday night.
If you didn't want to
Only
do that,
difference.
we go to 8-hour shifts and do 5 a week. You had employees that have been working on a schedule like this for one of them for the 14 years, and you changed the employees. So that's an effect on them.
And then it becomes an issue of trying to see if we can have people scheduled to work the weekends when they're used to now having weekends off. We could potentially lose qualified, well-trained dispatchers that have been with us, tenured employees for a decade or more.
But we don't know how the employees feel.
No, sir. We haven't discussed it with them as of yet. It's not a union issue at this particular time, but they will be getting a slight increase on their paycheck every 2 weeks of approximately $50 to $90 per person.
Correct.
So there would be a slight pay increase for each one of them over that because of the 6 hours overtime they are going to be getting.
Correct.
This is really interesting math.
Yes, it
You're
is.
welcome.
You're going to save $44,000, but your pay's going to go up.
Right.
Yes.
Oh,
That's because of
The
the overtime.
$47,000
We
sir,
went
would
up
have been,
80.
Would've went up
saving
80.
is something that didn't, when you say a savings,
Right.
had we kept this going the way it was going, in compliance with FSA, it would have cost us around $47,000, between $44,000 and
It'd be-
$47,000 more.
Yeah,
So
it'd be
that money hasn't been
$80,000.
spent yet because once we get this and implement this, this will be, they will see a slight increase in their
Just sounds
pay.
funny.
We need to
Yeah,
make the
I
change.
understand that.
$80,000,
Right?
We need to make-
$36,000.
It's hard to believe that just that switch in the doing
That
the
one
pay
day.
sheets Saturday night as opposed to Sunday night, we'll be able to do this problem without much.
Well, we have to be compliant with the
problem.
Fed, so, I mean, it's got to be done regardless.
Well, I think you've done the homework on it, and I think you've looked at it frontwards and backwards, and I can't understand why somebody would not want to move that pay period day, an employee, if I was looking at it as an employee, based on the fact that I'm going to get a slight bump, and it don't affect my schedule, and it doesn't affect when I get paid.
Correct.
And it doesn't displace what I've done for the past
It's 2002.
14 years.
Correct.
The first pay period, I believe there will be a 1 day minus.
They'll lose one particular day
But they'll
because
get it
it's
back
shut.
in the pay period after that.
Correct. And if they were to terminate, it'll catch
break
up.
makes over. So there will be
Correct.
that one pay period that there is a little bit of consternation.
Flips over to the
But
next.
then they
Correct.
pick it up on, they get an extra day on the next one to make up for it.
Correct.
I like the way you guys are
Will
doing
be,
it.
it is very confusing, and I apologize for that, but in my opinion, to bring us into compliance with FLSA, this is the least amount of consternation that we could possibly arrange to keep everything the way it is, and what's best for those who have families and children and love their every other Friday, Saturday, and Sunday off. Because if they'd have gone to these 8-hour schedules, which we were on prior to 2002, some of them would have Wednesdays and Thursdays, some would have Sundays and Mondays. I mean,
Tuesday, Friday.
it would have been if you look at those options I sent you, it would have been a big difference, and I think we would have very easily lost dispatchers. And this is the first time in many years we've been at full strength, and I hope you paid some attention to what our overtime this year has been compared to what it was in 14 and 15 because of that full staffing. It's minimal. It's like $2,000 total, as opposed to what I think somewhere around $5,000 to $6,000 in 14 and 15 during the same period. So it would really, I think, by far the best choice for everyone to do this. And no, we had not discussed it with the employees as of yet because we didn't want to shake anybody up, because like I said, it's hard for you to understand, it would be hard for them to understand until we know for sure what we're doing.
There's an intangible benefit on how you measure it, is that most of the time, a police officer has the same dispatchers on duty.
Correct.
12-12 matchups.
Correct.
It adds to comfortability, it adds to safety.
Trust.
I don't know how you measure it. You can't measure it.
Confidence.
I think it's a
Trust.
confidence, it's intangible, that is so very important that we're providing as a city to our employees and their families.
Had we done the 8-hour shifts, those dispatchers would have been changing shift right in the middle of the officer's shift. And you would have had that, wouldn't have that cohesiveness that we have now. And I think that's something we need to maintain. And this is by far the best way to do it.
Least obtrusive.
I move to approve Resolution 2807.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Consideration to award bid to Call Valley Engineering for engineering services for the 2016 street maintenance.
Mayor, Commissioners, we're requesting approval for engineering services for the 2016 street maintenance engineering services. There's money budgeted, $1.1 million, during the budget session for street maintenance. The engineering services are to develop preliminary plans, construction estimates, and quantities of materials. And in addition to that, it's responsibility of them to do the quality control, quality assurance, and the inspection of the work. We solicited 9 engineering firms and only had one response, which was Call Valley, for $8,185. We request that you approve the engineering services for the 2016 street maintenance to Call Valley Engineering for $8,185. And with that, willing to answer any questions you would like.
9 firms declined to bid. Any particular reason why they declined to bid?
Some of them said they had too much work and they weren't interested, and some said they were too busy and had short notice and they couldn't get it, and they just all declined.
Okay.
If we want to make one suggestion, and you know, I can understand a little what happened here. You know, we moved into the, last fall, into the on-call engineering service, and good job.
You may want to hold up, Ray. Looks like we're going to have a dance-off.
All right.
Dr. Landis buys donuts.
Actually, Shirley's the one supposed to find out.
I don't know.
We didn't touch it.
No.
We didn't touch it.
That's what they all say. But bottom line is we've gone through the on-call, and I think we've seen the results of the city projects, and
Did you do that?
as we move that, we decide to do that continually. Maybe once a year, every 2 years, we do out for requests for qualifications to research that market.
Exactly.
Because stuff like this, I think, you know, we had to use Call Valley, as we would an in-house engineer, if we had that yet, to develop the scope that we're saying, okay, engineer, now we want you to design, here it is. And it took that relationship between our departments, with Ray, the leadership, and with Call Valley to do that. I think we have a great product. They came up with great streets between Ray and Blanchard. We have a nice balance of residential, nice balance of business. We didn't get all the streets, I mean, because we don't have enough money to work with. And I always say the most important streets are one in front of your house. But, I mean, everybody's going to believe that. I get that. But I really believe we had a methodical way of doing it, and you got a great design process. So if you want to make a change down the road, that's where we have to make that change. Because this is, in my mind, one of those more mundane, this ain't like the sewer plant project or another type of project that's a little different of a tweak. It ties into it a little bit.
I want to go on the record, Ray, that the city manager said the most important street is in front of my house.
Okay.
I just want to make sure you understand that.
Understand that.
Street you live on?
It's a city street. Got that one that just shakes everything. Okay. He said it, not me.
I said my, or yours. I did that.
And his
You
street
said
part of it.
yours. You
No, I
pointed
said-
right at me.
I did, okay.
Okay.
It's speed bump for your safety, sir.
Thanks, Ray.
Oh, it's a good speed bump.
Yeah.
I make a motion to award as presented the 2016 Street Maintenance Engineering Services Contract to Call Valley Engineering in the amount of $8,185.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
None here.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Commissioners.
I have one question for you.
Yes? Commissioner Sands?
I'm not going to put you on the spot, but if you know it, what's the price of the asphalt? How is it sold? Because someone asked me, and I looked like I had something coming out my forehead, and I didn't know, but I told them whatever we pay for asphalt, when we budgeted last year, it's half this year. Would I be correct?
No, it's not half.
Not half.
No, it's a few dollars less.
It's less than.
Yeah, it's less than.
Less than half?
It's
It's less than it was, than we budgeted.
yeah, it's based on the oil prices and what the oil
And
does. yeah.
demand.
Yeah, and demand
Yeah.
fluctuates.
Because I figure oil prices last year around this time was $4 a gallon and
No,
or $2 a gallon.
oil price was
This was-
probably
oh.
in the 45-ish range.
Boy, yeah.
Yeah.
Now it's what?
Last year you paid $79 a ton, and we're looking at probably, hopefully 60, 65.
Ooh, wasn't that
Yeah.
much of a
That's why
difference.
our
Oh,
projects
that's,
are expanding.
that's 20% savings, though.
Yeah, but it's different in half,
Right.
what I see.
20% is still good.
Yeah, 20% is good. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor,
Let me
Commissioners.
try to do the math, because you guys are too quick tonight.
Got my shoes
Okay.
off, I'm ready.
We will now retire to executive session for attorney-client privilege.
Attorney, manager, assistant manager.
So moved.
Second. For how long?
15.
15. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. We
Go
will
back here.
adjourn to
I don't know.
executive
We
session.
have to get it.
There we go. We're good.
It's not that bad.
Yeah, that quick shelf there is kind of
Yeah, that's where the judge wanted it, but it's kind of in the way.
makes it tight.
I know.
Hey, you get to share my purse.
Okay.
Move to return from executive session where no decisions were made and no actions were taken.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
None.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. We will move on to commissioner comments and/or reports. And I believe Commissioner Landis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to, first of all, thank Mick and Jim for their service this past year.
Thank you.
City's better off because you guys stepped up to the plate. We appreciate what you do. Thank you very much. It's
Thank you.
definitely tons of time, and I'm well aware of that, and I'm actually glad not to be sitting in that seat, because it was been kind of nice to have a couple years off, but you didn't have to go. I mean, I enjoy going to everybody's thing, and it was really nice, but boy, I tell you, after a while. But anyway, thank you both very much for everything you do.
Appreciate that.
This Saturday, Earth Day, right? Big citywide cleanup, 8 o'clock at Spin City. We get this place cleaned up so we can give Vice Mayor a few days off, hopefully, because the city's going to be all clean. Right? So I'd like to thank the fire department, police department, for everything they did regarding the Bluffs fire. Great cooperation with all the local other agencies around our area. We have good neighbors that you guys do a lot for, and they stepped up and helped us out. So thank you. This past week, we lost a terrific citizen in our community that I never knew this gentleman before I got on this esteemed body, and that was Walter Gurman. Mr. Gurman was very active in the Kiwanis group and did a lot with recognizing the most improved students in our community. It may seem like it's not a big deal because we do it so often. We acknowledge these kids once a month for their achievement, but it takes people to step forward and see that those little pats on the back make a difference. So for him to give up his time and his talent and to be such a positive influence in our community, we're going to miss that. And he was a terrific gentleman. It was a pleasure to know him, and he will certainly be missed. Mr. Mayor, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Sands.
Attended the CVB board. Lots of information came out, but we'll keep it short because the paper was there, and look for it in the paper. This Monday, the legislators will be at the lake, 4 p.m. There should be a few more. We haven't finalized the schedule on who's coming and who's not, but 4 o'clock is the dinner for us to go out and visit with our legislators. There's a Milford Lake update, and they're going to talk about the projects. It's a briefing. It's Thursday evening. I would say best thing to do is contact the, I take it back, it's May 4th, at the Milford Lake Conference Center at Acorns Resort at 1300, 1 o'clock. And that's to talk about the course projects, inspections, the future outlets of the tubes, camping, changes that are coming to the Milford Lake area. So that's May 4th at 1 o'clock. If you've noticed, and maybe you didn't, but the hotels report monthly, and the report for February is that our hotels did extremely good. And 2 weeks ago, when we were heading out of town for a funeral, I was going to allow some of the family to stay at the hotel because I couldn't keep them all at the house. The hotels were full where there were no vacancies, which is good because of the training on Fort Riley. There were numerous reserve units from out of town that stayed in our area, and every hotel was booked in our area, which adds more tax revenues. So that was a good thing for us, a good thing for the hotels. And the hotels, for some reason, are staying full, and this is a great thing. The Float Your Boat, is, I can't talk about that one. It's coming up. Someone told me what it was for, and I didn't bring it up there, so I'm not going to bring it up here. There are a mess of K-State University interns and they have to do community work, but in order to use those interns, because I can't use one of them, they have to work with a college degree person. So they can't work with someone, if they're a K-State graduate, they can't work with a high school diploma person. They have to work with someone of equal or more education. So I learned that today at a briefing. That was kind of interesting. Juneteenth is going to happen in June. I will tell you this much, it is getting support and sponsorship like we have never before. And I'll put the pledge out there. Juneteenth is going to be awesome because the people in this community. There's some new folks that came on. There's some really smart folks that came on. And for some reason, I know I'm late, but we're going to make this thing happen. It's going to be the best Juneteenth with a dedicated group of people where you don't have to pull teeth. They're in there for making a community, and this is a community event. And on the other thing, Dewey Terrell had me on the radio to talk about the Buffalo Soldiers. And and Dewey, I want to thank you because folks from all over the country, I don't know where you heard that, but I don't know if that helped, but people from all over the country are wanting to know more about the Junction City Buffalo Soldier chapter. What are we doing? How can they help? With that, I picked up another iron in the fire, and I'm glad I pushed the vice president that way, or vice mayor that way. And with that, Mr. Mayor, it's all yours. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Fitzgerald. Vice Mayor
Oh, thank you.
Fitzgerald. Excuse me.
Thank you.
Fitzgerald.
First, I apologize for coughing so much tonight, but haven't had a cold in years, but I sure got one now.
I didn't even hear it.
Yeah, I've been coughing a lot. Anyway, so first, I would just like to tell everybody thank you, especially to my fellow commissioners, for selecting me to be the vice mayor. I'm really honored and humbled by that. And I have to say that I still today absolutely love being a commissioner, being a part of my community, and being a voice for the citizens here. I absolutely love Junction City and being a part of it, so I'm very grateful for that opportunity. Just a couple little quick things. I did go to the CPX because we were invited to go and get a tour of the post-exercise. It definitely is very informative. I was at an advantage, though, because I work in that arena, but I still got the opportunity to go because then I get to hear a perspective or see it in a different perspective besides being someone that works there. Also, the Ace Hardware did have their grand opening the other day, and a lot of people did come out, and whenever I do drive by that area, because I live near, it's usually pretty busy, so I think that's a good thing that got a hardware store on the west side of the town as well. And the last thing that I'll just mention about is my little beautification project that I work on once or twice a week. I have seen, honestly, some improvements down there around Chestnut and everything. It's not near as much trash out, and some of our friends have said they've seen other people out now. So I hope that that's a good, sure sign that if someone sees one person doing it, maybe someone else will tag on. That's all I have, Mayor.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Ryan.
Sure is good having fellow commissioners that pay attention to what's going on. I have to reiterate, thank you to the fire department, the police department for your response at the Bluffs. Once again, you showed the community that we have a very good department, and we have people who care and people who know how to do their job. Walter Gurman was a very fine gentleman. He will be sorely missed by the community. The work that he did with the kids, from subbing in school, I have a little better idea of what those kids are going through and what they are trying to do. And yes, we do it every month. But if you pay attention every month, it's a different group of kids, and it gets those kids actually competing against one another to try to excel, to win the medal. And it brings their work and their abilities, it helps raise them up with their social peers and in their abilities of school. And from everything that I've seen, Walter Gurman was at the forefront of making the most improved student happen. That is his legacy, and I would surely like to see that continue.
Absolutely. Definitely.
I had the opportunity to go to another school-type function. It was the Giving Time, Sharing Hearts for the foster grandparents. Many of the grade schools in USD 475 have volunteers who are my age and older, who come in for free and work with at-risk kids and give them one-on-one care, work with them. You know, they don't come in there to chastise a kid, telling him he has to do something. They come in to pat him on the back when he does something right. And if he's having a tough time, they take him out of the room until the child calms down, and then brings him back in, and they keep those kids moving forward. The number, I forgot, I thought it sounded like $35,000 or $40,000 is what the wages would have been if they'd had to pay people to come in and spend those hours. And these people do it for free. You know, they do it just because they love their community. You know, some of them will actually tell you, well, it gives me a reason to get out of bed and do something. You know, it gives them a purpose in life. But befriending your fellow human being is something that we all need to do. And then we need to have fun. I was asked to bring up the Friends of Rolling Meadows Spring 3-person scramble. It will be June 5th, 2016. There'll be a 9 a.m. shotgun start. And when I was invited, I explained to them, as you all know, I don't play golf. And they said, do you eat food? Do you stand around and talk? There's plenty of room for you. Come on out. I was told, because I've started working with a few more volunteers, so I've learned the new term voluntold. I was voluntold to invite my fellow commissioners June 5th to come out to the scramble, whether you golf or not. We need to be there, just to show our support. The things that the Friends of Rolling Meadows do, they come up with money for projects out at the golf course that we don't fund, you know, that we as a commission don't put in the budget to take care of. It's part, and it's not in the budget because we just don't have the extra money laying around to take care of things the way they should. And these people care enough about their golf course. They do their best to raise funds in order to make improvements to make the golfing experience better for anybody who uses the golf course. So I've talked enough tonight.
Thank you. I have a couple things. One of the things I wanted to mention was, and most of you have talked about everything that I was going to talk about anyway, but I wanted to say on the fire that we had at the Bluffs, fire departments, police departments, interagencies in the area, they all did a very good job. I'd like to go beyond that and say that I was highly impressed with the community. The community stepped forward, and various businesses, and I'm sure I can't remember all of them, Rainbow International, Walmart, Smithfield, they pitched in immediately and started helping residences with what they could. That's the kind of community that I want to live in, is the community that helps one another. And when somebody is in dire need, this community steps up, and I was very impressed by that. I was also impressed by how the situation was handled. Very quickly, very decisively. It told me that the city paid for the training, paid for the equipment, and paid for the firefighters to be there. And all of it came together, and all of it worked very well. So the equipment that we have sitting there that we hadn't replaced in a very long time, which we hoped we would never have to use, came in very handy. I feel better that when there is a tragedy, there is something of that magnitude, we have the people, we have the training, and we have the equipment. So I thank the citizens for what they've done for that effort. I'm glad we're back on air. There has been a lot of folks that have questioned if we would ever be back on air, to be able to reach those that watch. And there's a lot of them that watch what we do. So I'm glad to be in this building and back on air. I will be at the Mayor's Conference and Leadership Summit Friday and Saturday. I believe Mr. Dinkle will be there, as well as Katie. You're not going to be there? Okay.
Is this the league thing?
Yeah.
No.
The league,
No.
yeah. Okay. One final thing, Walt will be missed, and I agree with everybody, a great guy. What Kiwanis South does for the most improved students is it's a pleasure for me to be able to come every month and recognize those children. There's a few things that are very, very pleasurable in the position that I've been in for the last year, but that is certainly one of them. And I did get to say congratulations to my great niece, who happened to be one of the most improved students. So that was the highlight of my evening.
A little nepotism there, I think, probably.
Yeah. Good. It was
Protest.
good.
Check the votes a little bit. I think.
Yeah, check the vote. Check the vote. Thank you. Mr. Dinkle.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank Chief Brown for having the police car out front. I took it, it came last week, I said, we need to show this to the public, and we're probably going to brainstorm, bring other equipment, and we'll let you know, the public know, half an hour before the meeting so you can see it. And I think the police car was excellent, and actually the reporter from WIBW had been here earlier, came out here because we sent a news release this afternoon out, and she was here for that. I think it explains, because how many of us in this room have heard or may have said ourselves, police cars used to be sedans that were black and white and looked like this, and now you're buying SUVs and you're equipping with this and this and this. I think it's important for everybody to see, and even myself, and I've been around this fairly close for 27 years, the amount of equipment that we are adding to those cars all the time. Mm-hmm. And the only reason we put more equipment in the car is to provide for the safety and the well-being of the people of this community. Exactly. That's the only reason it's there, and that's how Wells does, and I thank you for that. Also, of course, with the fire last week, and we got from Manhattan, didn't plan all this quickly, but so you may have heard me say we reciprocate with Manhattan on a police issue on Sunday, and so I think those are good. We have two towns with different equipment that we can do those things together in the extreme circumstances. That's great. Sign for this building, it's been mentioned, we need to say the word City Commission. I've been working with Craig Paxton. He's been Friday. He's finally got stuff from his laser guy, as he called it. So I'll have a price and details on some changes we can make on that piece there. Judge McComb came to talk to me, and they're talking to open house this building. I'm going to say May 4th, but wait till you see it in press before I say when. I got a call from County Commission Chairman Whitebread today. Adabus, she's on that committee. They're only going to put 18 stops right now, signs up, she says. And the county is making those signs. They do have some funding to help put buy and put the posts in the ground. I haven't even had a chance to talk to Ray if that's even a possibility for us to do. It'd be a 70% funding for the labor also. So we'll have that talk tomorrow, because we haven't I got the call late this afternoon, so I didn't have time to even talk to Ray about that. Buses are getting ready to roll, though, and hopefully early next month they'll rock and roll and move forward. I think that's all I got.
Okay. Great. Mrs. Beatty?
We did go out for bid for our casualty and property insurance, and were notified today that there are 6 interested parties. That bid process is a little bit different than other bid processes. They go out to determine who is interested in the process, and 6 responded to that, and then they'll begin an underwriting and negotiation process with those 6, is how they'll do that. And so you'll be getting more of that. We'll be coming to you for the recommendation, the first meeting in June. Just for maybe the public's benefit more than anything, so that you understand, the truck that fought, the main truck that fought that fire was the ladder truck. And that ladder truck was acquired by the city through a FEMA grant, which was started, I believe, under Mike Steinford, with the knowing from on down to get a grant, and that was a process. 3 years? Took 3 years to get it? 4 years of trying to get that grant.
Trips to AUSA and our
Get
senators.
all kinds of efforts were made in order to get that truck, and Rick, Mr. Rick tells me that that had they not had such a piece of equipment, they could have been more catastrophic losses. So we can be thankful for the federal government as well tonight for helping us get those kinds of pieces of equipment. And that was what Mr. Vernon, even during our financial crisis, some of the members that were on the commission then recognized the importance of having the grant match for that and additional fire equipment. And so we built into the crisis model the ability to do that. So teamwork.
Good. Good work.
All teamwork.
Good. Thank you. Mrs. Settles.
Nothing, sir.
Mrs. Logan.
Nothing.
Chief Brown.
No, sir.
Way back there on the North 40.
You can wave at him.
Chief Rook.
Yes, Mayor, if you'd indulge me, I know the hour's late, but I would like to speak to the reference to the fire last Tuesday. First of all, I appreciate all the comments from the commissioners. I have the opportunity right now to be leading a great group of individuals. The department came together, the city came together on Tuesday, and I just want to quickly touch on some of the things that happened and give you a better scope of what we were up against and what came to the table. We had approximately 25 of our own staff that were either actively involved in fighting the fire or were at the station covering. As Ms. Beatty and Mr. Dinkle have already alluded to, the equipment, the ladder truck was instrumental in getting that. Coincidentally, when we were trying to justify that grant under Chief Steinford, that building is the one we set up on to show the shortage of our ladder truck. We went from 75 foot to 109 foot, and we had plenty of reach. The grant, we ended up spending city-wise, $84,000 was our match on a $1 million truck. Good deal for the city. Really came into play heavily. And we've also upgraded to the 2 additional engines. All 3 of them were heavily used, and I'll touch on that in just a second. As far as the firefight itself, our normal partners that we call on for quick response is Fort Riley. They had 5 fires going on at the same time. They were unable to come assist us, which we quickly went to our next mutual aid partner, which was Manhattan. They had approximately 10 personnel respond to Junction City. We had 5 at the fire scene with an aerial truck and another engine crew covering the city. They were our only resource in the city for approximately 4 hours. Grandview Plaza and Gary County also contributed, and with all those numbers, either at the fire or covering the city, we had about 45 personnel involved. The police department, sheriff's department, public works, I can't speak enough about them. The investigation, which took place starting that evening and went on into the next day for a lengthy period of time, we had both local, state, and federal investigators here. We had 12 investigators working the incident from the ATF, Fort Riley Fire, my investigators, as well as the State Fire Marshal's office. As far as the dollar loss amount, that's going to be some time. One fortunate thing that did come out of this, if you want to call it fortunate, was at this particular complex, they are required to have renter's insurance, so that everybody involved in this is insured.
Thank you.
So that's a plus for us. We typically don't see that on your individual residentials that are split into apartments or what have you. We deal with that quite frequently. The water service got a great workout. We did a rough calculation. We figured we pumped about 300,000 gallons of water, and we had no problems at all. The trucks, they performed flawlessly, and as you well know, they were in need of updating, and the commission, you were instrumental in getting those for us, and the community supporting that, and it really came into play that day. As Commissioner McAllister stated, the community really came together. We had Red Cross, we had entities, businesses, several groups at Fort Riley. We had a lot of military personnel involved in this incident that lost everything. The entire third floor was completely wiped out, and we had severe water damage throughout the rest of the building. We had 51 people displaced, and like I said, it'll be some time before we finally get a dollar figure on what the total was. But I did want to take this opportunity to, first of all, thank my staff. Like I said, I can't say enough about them. They did a great job. One thing I heard over and over again from the state and the federal people that we had in is they were surprised that they had a building to work with and weren't digging out the whole thing. So the staff on duty, Battalion Chief Collar was the incident commander that day, did a great job with his crew in getting things stopped. So caught a break with the weather. Could have been a different story a week and a half ago. We probably would have had more than one building going. So things went our way. It worked out great, and I just wanted to come and speak to you about that while I had the opportunity and give you an update. And let's hope we don't have to go through it again for quite a while. So thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Mr. Osborne, do you have anything to add for the good of the order?
Briefly, a little update on some of our projects. The sanitary sewer project's moving slowly. Hit a little rock issue out there again. They're probably going to go to Saturdays, working 6 days a week. The 2015 asphalt clean job is 99% done. We're going through quantities, going to start our punch list so we can get it closed out. If you haven't heard, KDOT has just let a contract to mill and overlay from Foot Locker to Harrington. So our problems on 77 are only going to get compounded. We did get notification from KDOT that we can bid the 2016 clank. So we'll put our 2016 street maintenance in high gear so we can bid them on the same day and get some economy.
Good.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Gurman.
Yes, sir. Actually, I do have something to say. First, thank you all for your kind words about Dad. I'm sure Mom's hopefully watching at home, and she appreciates it. We did broadcast. There are a few snags. There's a little, the cameras vibrate a little bit with the air, and we'll take care of that. And there's also a little humming noise, and I think it's from an unshielded wire, but we'll take that. I did record the entire meeting so I can see which of you are not sitting close enough to the microphone Mr. Dingle, to be heard. So we'll review that and make necessary adjustments.
Okay. Thanks, Jim. Mr. Yearout.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Mr. Lazier.
Thank you.
Mr. Ibarra.
Sir, thank you.
I have one for Ed.
Oh, go ahead.
There's a roller derby Saturday with one of our own actually roller derbying with him. The doors open at 1800. I told her I'd stop by. And the derby begins at 7 o'clock. The doors open at 6. Starts at 7, $10 in advance if you buy your tickets. See some of our own, and $12 at the door.
Are you going to be on roller skates?
No, I've never been on them. But I'm going to go watch.
I'm just checking.
We got one of our own
I
out.
went last year and it was a lot of fun.
If I have enough energy left after the LKM, I'll be there.
Okay.
All you gotta do is sit and watch.
We don't bounce well, Jim.
We don't. That's why I don't roller skate. Even with that little crutch thing, that ain't going to work.
We have a good ambulance service, but have you ever heard Humpty Dumpty?
I
You
would
can't
have
put
a
them back
great-
together.
I'll be with my glass of water.
Mr. Peterson.
Nothing, thank you.
Okay.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.